good morning, good evening, and to some, good night. It is another static night, and here I am in my room again, left to ponder in the darkness. And there is a big theme there. Wonder and pondering are associated with darkness, associated with ignorance. That is only through ignorance that one has to wonder. Wondering, as in the W-A-N sense, paints a picture of someone who is not settled yet. They have not discovered that which they desire. And that is why I believe the idea of wonder, W-O-N, is so similar to the W-A-N type. The idea that we are still in the darkness, we are still not at the destination we desire, that we keep pressing on, keep asking the questions, keep pursuing some greater revelation. And this is why today's session, or rather should I say tonight's session, focuses on the idea of waking up. We all wake up in the end. We all, through some expedition through our mortality realize that summer does not last forever. It's as though the repetition of the seasons leads us to conclude, hold on, this summer might be my last summer, this winter might be my last winter. And winter, in that sense, when it is the last, becomes equivalent to summer. This idea of waking up in the end is not some concept that I want to frighten you with, or some hope to even compel you to run towards. It comes back to this idea of wondering and pondering. It's the darkness that allows for us to pursue the light, or desire the light, the idea of pursuing wisdom, of arriving at some grand destination. We all wake up in the end. A lot of today's modern culture is this idea of being awoke, that there are some people with the special knowledge that we should listen to. There's some people with higher insight, almost divine insight. And they seem to live in such a way that sparks our interests and our intrigue, that we desire to be like them. It's almost an offense to be ignorant in this day and age of technology, of knowledge, of insight, and everybody claims to have the way. Everybody's saying, oh, if you're not this, you're that. This wandering, this pondering, this to and froing, looking for the answers, seeking the truth, hoping to find it, and yet who is in the darkness that by moving in the darkness can find the light? It's a curious idea. It's this idea of ignorance within ignorance might produce knowledge. Lao Tzu writes, "Darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding." That here I am in my darkness, here I am in my room, but so much more than me recording this at midnight. It's the darkness in my mind. This desire to wake up, or rather to go to sleep. The punishment of insomnia. I can't remember who, but I remember where, and forgive the pronunciation, Haisin, I believe, the monk who wrote that book in Chinese, think 300 BC. It is late and my facts start to blur, but he writes something like, "To the eyes that never close, he always stays awake." Now the man is obviously playing on wordplay, it's a play on words. Yes, of course, the eyes that refuse to close never sleep, but the eyes that refuse to close also never live. As in to say that sleep is necessary to see. Ironically, it's the going into the illusionary world that makes us so certain that we are awake when we wake up. It's by going to sleep and accepting the delusion that when we wake up we can see the reality for as it is. But if you try and stay awake for too long, your mind begins to hallucinate. You begin to bring the illusionary world into the physical world. And that is just such a fascinating thought that I feel like we could really dive into that. I feel like we could really explore that idea. We could just fully invest this whole segment into looking at the illusionary world, entreating upon our visionary world. From lack of sleep, it's almost to descend into madness you find the sanity, to descend into darkness you find the light. It's this darkness within darkness I was just saying about. It's this wandering in the darkness. It's this pondering at night. How can I comprehend the day in the night? It's paradoxical thinking. And I don't want you to get lost in the metaphysics, so please forgive me that I'm trying to use these examples to explain a bigger concept. But we all wake up in the end, and this pursuit of being the woke, or being the enlightened, or not, rather it's not really a pursuit of enlightenment anymore. It's this pursuit of not being seen as ignorant. It comes from actually an insecurity. Oh no, I don't want society to reject me. And it comes from the same reason that we followed so many other beliefs throughout history of, if I'm left out, or if I'm let out of society, I will suffer the horridness of isolation. And yet enlightenment is actually rather an isolating experience as well. So there's this juxtaposition or false pretense that becoming woke will actually put you as socially accepted. But I think it's Carl Jung who writes, the more learned a man is, the lonelier he is, the more isolated he is. So, we're left in this tension of to be ignorant is to be rejected, and to be insightful is to be rejected. But I think what society terms as ignorant and sense, or sense and sensibility, is not necessarily what is truly sensible. And so this woke culture is only by someone else's definition, and pinpointing, and we can't really determine whether that person is woke or not. Because if we try to, we are either the woke ones who, by our own determining, or someone else's determining, are determining someone else's wokeness, if that makes sense. And if we aren't woke, determining someone else's wokeness, then we're the ignorance calling. I don't even know the opposite of ignorant, the knowledgeable ignorant. Yeah. And so we get into this state of, oh, he's the one with knowledge. But if we're the ones without knowledge, then we can't acknowledge knowledge. And that comes back to the idea of wandering in the darkness. How are you supposed to be able to distinguish the light from the darkness if what you know is darkness? How are you to go, oh, that person's knowledgeable, but then realizing your own lack of knowledge? That comes with some sort of knowledge. You know what I mean? And so we're left in this idea of what is waking up then? What is truly waking up, abandoning the delusion, abandoning the dream, being able to go, hey, actually no, this is reality and that's a dream. And I talked to that state about this idea of opening your eyes for so long leads to the delusions that you can try and deny or deny the delusionary world, but it will invade you eventually. And it's a weird, very, very strange idea, because I think a lot of the idea of waking up is the idea that you leave behind your desires, you let go of your desires, you let go of your dreams, you see things with clarity, and yet it's only by fully immersing yourself in the dream that you can distinguish the dream from reality. Oh, actually, hold up, I know that I've woken up, because there's this sense of geographic continuality. That is to say, the place where I put my head was the same where I rose my head between the 8-hour period where I believed I was, asleep or unconscious, or rather not unconscious, but in the subconscious. And the subconscious is just as much as part of what we are now as the visible consciousness, and even more so. So again, I'm talking about very curious concepts, so it's quite hard to articulate the dreamscape, if you will. And especially when my own hallucinations are kicking in, it's 12, 14 a.m. and I'm like, oh, what the heck am I even talking about? And you might be out wondering too, you might be like, what the heck am I listening to? But we're both tired and we're both like, you know what, YouTube's just said put it on, so I'm listening to it now. And I respect that. But not to get too lost in that, is when we start to die. As in to say, when we start to get tired and realize our exhaustion, we begin to divulge in the delusion, right? And yet, interesting enough, that when we start to die, when we start to age, and become more aware of our, not immortality, but of our mortality and our lack of immortality, we start to realize how frugal life is. And coming back to what I was saying before, that the delusions pervading the mind that is so actively trying to stay awake, compared to the mind that accepts sleep, then wakes up, is like this when I'm talking about the concept of enlightenment. And enlightenment is already quite a metaphysical concept. So, it comes back to my dilemma of the woke talking about the woke, or the not woke talking about the woke, because if I'm not woke, if I'm not enlightened, how can I possibly explain something to you, and if I am enlightened, then the unenlightened can't understand what I'm saying either. So it's a very puzzling idea, but not to get lost in the linguistics of it all. As you embrace life, as you embrace the delusion of existence, from the perspective that you're not going to wake up, but rather that you're awake and going to sleep, that you're actually realizing that there is an end. We all wake up in the end. All wake up in the end. Life is but a dream. And that is a very curious song that we teach children. Life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, merrily, merrily. Life is but a dream. Why do we confuse children from such a young age with that thought, that idea that life is but a dream, life is short, life is surreal, unknowable perhaps, the mysteries are vague like a dream, perhaps absurd like a dream, and we get into absurdism, and now the children have to wrestle with that concept. Oh, life is but a dream. Does that make my life meaningless? Does it make it bizarre? And all the stuff that we wrestle through in our teenage years, almost building upon the premises of the problems that we've been dealt with as a child. And then we get into adulthood, and like I was saying to you, is that this idea of we all wake up in the end. Well, we all realize our own mortality, and we begin on this quest of going, hang on, because I know I'm going to wake up, I'm going to enjoy the dream for a little while. I'm going to feel the sun of this world and really feel it. I'm going to put my hand out of the window safely, not absurdly, in a car ride to feel the wind. I'm going to, when I eat my food, I'm not just going to rush by it, neglecting the details. I'm really going to taste it. It's so strange. It's like knowing that you're about to wake up only makes you cling on to the dream even more. And almost not being awake, or rather perhaps being awake, you want to perhaps in the initial stages of the dream, so desperately want to wake up that you actually go into the illusionary more. That is to say that in the darkness, when you are walking around at night, and you think, oh, this is the light switch, and you're touching the washing machine, and then you're touching the next thing, and the next thing, because you're so determined to find the light that you touch everything else but the light switch. And what I was saying by that before is that the person that's truly woke embraces the dream, knowing that they're about to wake up. The person that's still asleep, so deep in the illusion, is the one very determined to be woke. Oh, I must not enjoy the sun because it's not real. I must neglect the stars because they're not real. I must live in this box. I must live in the darkness because in the darkness I find light. It's a strange, it's a strange concept. It's like as if the opposite of Plato's cave allegory, where you intentionally go into the cave to go, all of this is just fake. All of this is just, and I'm gonna focus on it so that I can get rid of it. I'm gonna abolish it. That I'm gonna sit in my room and meditate on the reality that I do not yet comprehend, and I'm gonna try and do that so that I can get there. You're going into the cave, You're going into the cave to try and get out of it. But on the paradoxical side of that is the scale of when the person accepts the dream is oh, I'm going to wake up soon, I'm going to die, so I might as well try and enjoy the life. That they actually kind of wake up. So weird, and so it feels like it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're wandering or you're pondering or you're walking here or you're staying still. Whatever happens in the darkness doesn't seem to really have any sort of significance on the external environment. That's not to say that is not, you cannot take my word and suddenly mean that, oh, the Midnight Memoirs man is saying I can do anything. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Don't take that thought, don't change it into something else. I'm simply talking about how do we live life with these questions. How do we, people really want to know the truth, that they almost fall into the delusion trying to find it, and I believe if you truly seek the truth, you'll find it, but some people, it's all about, like I said, being woke. It's all about being enlightened, that they're so serious, they go into this reverse state, is what I was saying, Instead of leaving the cave to see the light, they go, oh no, light is fiction, so I'm going to sit in the darkness to discover the true light. And what I'm saying is that death is coming for us all. It's coming to claim us. And here we have this moment, this opportunity to embrace life. And ironically, by embracing life, we find life again. We're trying to avoid this realization of dying. And death is no longer at our doors, but in our minds, in our hearts. The enlightenment hits us as we die. The waking up hits us as we die. Oh, actually, I'm about to die, I'm about to wake up. So, let's just enjoy 5 more minutes. You know what's so curious? You set an alarm. Hey, wake me up in the morning, alarm clock. And then when it does wake you up, you're like, It's so rude that you woke me up. I'm going to go back for 5 more minutes. I'm going to go back. It's like we're never appreciating where we are. And that's being woken up, is appreciating where you are. Like, I'm in the dream right now, I'm going to enjoy it. And when I wake up, I'm going to enjoy that too. Some people don't accept the seasons. They try to stay up when they should be asleep. And so the sleep has to come to them. They have to have their mind where they're distorted and they're like, well, I'm seeing so many visions, so many crazy things because I'm not sleeping. I'm so tired, I'm so exhausted that even though I'm trying to stay awake, I can't do anything with my wakedness. And then they go to sleep and you kind of want to stay in the dream, but then the dream has served its purpose to empower you to face life again. And I guess it's, do not be so concerned with being woke. Do not spend your days hurrying along towards a state of bliss, missing out on all the sensations of life. That's the kind of idea of enlightenment is like, oh, I'm going to escape from this world. I'm going to escape from the hardships. I'm going to escape from the pain. I'm going to escape from the suffering. But it's kind of a funny thing that by swerving into the suffering, by swerving into the illusion, by not avoiding the sleep, but sleeping, that you find the liberation that life is all the sensations. And that's not to say to go into a blind rage. I think blind rage happens when you're too tired. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. That the extremities of the emotions that we feel only happen when we're trying to deny them. It's like, okay, well, love is weakness. Love makes me feel vulnerable. So what's the opposite? That's the assertive is lust. That I'm not going to be possessed by someone, but I'm going to possess someone. They're going to be mine. And love is all about the other. Love is all about, hey, I don't care what I have. I just care that you're happy. You see what I mean? That when you're tired, it's all about me, my. You know, your world is limited to your weaknesses. But when you're in your strengths, when you're in the dream, you can create anything. And then when you wake up, you feel empowered. You're like, I've just seen a beautiful world. And now I want to bring that to people. I want to give them that dream. I want to be that hope, that vision. And love is that idea of, like I said, where you go out of your way to help them fulfill their dreams. It comes from a strength. It comes from a place of realizing, I'm in a dream right now. We can do whatever we like. We can create something beautiful. But if only we surrender. You know, only when you focus on living does enlightenment become a possibility. When you go, I'm just going to feel it. When I feel upset, I'm gonna be sad, but for a minute, because you wake up and you go back to sleep. There's this cycle. You know, waking up, sleeping, waking up, sleeping, waking up, sleeping. And the same is true that when you feel angry for a second, it's not to be led in a blind rage. It's to go back to that place of rest. Okay, I'm starting to see the hallucinations. I'm going to just take a moment. I'm just going to breathe for a second. I'm just going to close my eyes. It's like a miniature sleep. It's a miniature sleep. Okay. Is this real, or am I just getting tired? No, it's not real. This person's not upset me. I've just been upset by this person. And that sounds very funny what I'm saying, because it sounds like I just said the same thing, but they're completely different. This person's not upset me. What that person's done is external. It's already passed. But I've been upset by this person. I've decided to take it in. I've decided to hold on to it. that moment's dead, and you cling onto it, and you die with it. You're now trapped in the past. You're dead as well. So when I said only when you focus on living does enlightenment become a possibility, is enlightenment is always focused on life. However that looks, if it looks like being in the sun of this world, or being in the sun of the next. You know what I'm saying? So when you're in the dream, you're running around with the sun. And when you wake up, you're running around with the sun again. You're always focused on the life, not on the death. It's always, I'm going to live. And not in lust, as in the assertive, the tired, the blind rage, the greed. All these things are under the illusion of, like I said, that lack, that kind of desire to assert yourself. When you let go of exalting yourself and you plummet to the depths, that's when you are actually lifted high above everyone else. The water begins in the ocean but ends in the sky. It's a cycle. We rise and fall again, constantly building. Death wakes us up. Death scares us into realizing our imminence. I have a moment more in this dream, so I'm going to embrace it. I have a moment more, to appreciate the day. I have a moment more to wonder, to ponder, to just enjoy the almost not knowing, the agnosia of it all. This idea of enlightenment, of waking up, it's ironic that when you wake up, you realize how good the dream is. It's the, oh wow, actually, I'm waking up to the moment, even though the moment's still in the dream. I've got 5 minutes left to sleep in. I'm gonna sleep in. And it's knowing the balance of when I'm awake, and when I'm asleep, I'm asleep. This lust, is it illusionary? Am I starting to see the hallucination that I need someone? And that again comes to this idea of attachment, that I need it. I want it, I desire it, I crave it, it's going to fulfill me, it's going to wake me up. And then you go, okay, no, it's going to send me deeper into the illusion that if I have something, I'm going to be something. You already are something. You're asleep. But death makes us realize, okay, well no, actually that person's going to disappear, I'm going to disappear. So love says, while they're here, I'm going to try and make it as enjoyable as possible for them. I'm going to love them. I'm going to care for them. I'm going to look out for them. And while they have this time left, knowing that I'm going to die, they're going to die, if they want someone else, then I'm going to help them get that person. The rage says, we're here forever, so I'm going to beat the crap out of you. The love says, oh, okay, we're not here forever. You're part of my dream, I'm part of your dream. Here we are for a moment, just two dreamers. And we can dream of a good world where we help each other out, or we can dream up a bad one where I punch you in the face because you're annoying me, And it's like, well, hang on. Knowing that you're going to die, knowing that I'm going to wake up and leave you, I think for a moment I can accept that you've upset me, and that my anger is not what I want, and my anger is certainly not what you want. So I'm going to love you. Because suffering can be forbeared if we know it has an end. The dream goes, okay, well, I know it's going to end, so I'm actually going to embrace it. I'm going to live it. I'm going to live entire, whichever state you are in, live it completely. Like I said, it's not to go into foolishness. It's not to go into the rage or the lust or the greed or all these things, because that still implies someone that is starting to get to that stage of really sleepy. They're starting to deny that they're tired. And they're like, no, I just got to keep my eyes open a little bit more. You know, the monk is often the most frustrated person. Why am I not getting this? Why am I not enlightened? You know, no, hold up, take a step back. Have a rest. Let's face it tomorrow. And with that kind of almost confusing recording, you know, probably one of my most confusing, because it's such a, yeah, sure, it is a bit dreamlike, it is a bit, where are we going? But it comes back to the idea we all wake up in the end that as you get closer to death, you start to realize, no, actually I'm going to appreciate life. And just as a baby is bald upon entering, so a lot of people are bald upon exiting. Our baby wears nappies, so a lot of elderly people wear nappies, that the cycle is continuing. And what I want to encourage you with death is that as a baby enters, you know, bald, naked, goes into the nappies, and the elderly person starts to lose their hair, becomes more frail, starts to forget things. As a baby knows nothing. Sometimes the elderly know nothing, like they start to lose a lot of their memories, things like that. And not insulting, I just mean for a majority, not all. Some age very gracefully and exit very gracefully, but there's this idea of not being able to control the bowels. So many things. Weakening in the bones. And what I want to encourage you with is, I don't know if that's preparing them for death. Well, a baby comes out prepared for life. Perhaps they just came prepared to wake up. They're going back to what they know because they're about to enter into a new life. Something fantastic on the other side of that door. And so we enjoy this sleep for a little bit more. But when the alarm clock rings again, we know it's time. We know it's time to wake up. And we all wake up in the end. Thank you for listening. And as always, good evening, good night, and to some, good morning.